as we go, as we roll down this unfamiliar road. And although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place your own. Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you will always be found. Just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place your settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay a mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place your home.
Good morning, everyone. Our opening words this morning are "The Good News" by Thich Nhat Hanh. The good news they do not print, the good news we do not print. We have a special edition every moment, and we need you to read it. The good news is that you are still alive, and the linden tree is still here, standing firm in the harsh winter. The good news is that you have wonderful eyes to touch the blue sky. The good news is that your child is there before you, and your arms are available. Hugging is possible. They only print what is wrong, but we print what is right. Look at each of our special editions. We always offer the things that are not wrong. We want you to benefit from them and help protect them. The dandelion, it's there by the sidewalk, smiling its wondrous smile, singing the song of eternity. Listen. You have ears that can hear it, Bow your head. Listen to it. Leave behind the world of sorrow, of preoccupation, and get free. The latest good news is that you can do it. Deborah, will you light our chalice? Will you please rise and body your spirit for our opening hymn, I'm Listening by Leah Morris, printed in your orders of service. Alexis. We'll vamp a little bit. All right. Also, can I have the pledge team and our visiting stewards? Why don't you come up at this moment as well? You can come up to the chancel. Come on up, come on up, come on up. Yes, yes. Come up. We're going to have you all just come up and have a seat for a moment. Come up, come up, come up. Sit down. We're vamping until Anne walks in.
Or until she doesn't, she was trying to park.
Oh, the parking, the snow. You want to take it?
Unfortunately, I'm
All right, Alexis is going to be our stand-in this morning. This is half of Ann Hefter and Alexis Felix. The Alexis Felix half for our opening pledge drive testimonial.
Unfortunately, perhaps I am rather comfortable for speaking for both of us. It's something I'm working on, so it'll pay off here. I am not Ann Hefter, but she is here with me, and I know that I do speak for both of us because I swear we wrote this together. I am Alexis Felix, and we have both been long-term members here at First Church, and by long-term, I mean it's been integral in who we are. For me, at least, I can say that it has changed my life. It has defined who I am. Come on up, Ann, please. Oh, thank gosh. In case anyone is wondering, it's my fault we're late, so. I just got to the part where First Church is integral to who we are, and I was about to still take my line. Will you breathe? Okay. Okay, there we go. No, it's really fitting that we actually did meet here years and years ago. Our lives have crossed paths for years before the time was right for us to come together and actually date. One marriage later for each of us. And we are here. Our circles kept overlapping, though, throughout the years, just the things that we're interested in, the common things that we went through. And once we did start dating, it just seemed natural. The things that we wanted to do happened to be the same things because this place was so right for both of us. Have you breathed? Okay.
In fact, I actually proposed to her right up there in the choir loft during FUSM's, where am I?
The First Church's Feast for Fun
Band concert. So
during the house.
I knew I wanted to give her a good proposal story because every girl needs a proposal story. So I decided that if the right song hit me, that I would ask her. So needless to say, First Church is kind of the heart of us meeting and has been the heart of our lives for a while.
So when the house band, at the end of that concert, where I'm wondering why she's so antsy, and she's getting more and more nervous, and I'm thinking there's something wrong, the band plays Glorious, and we'll tell you more if you want, believe me, I love talking about it. But that song and this group, as well as this place, will always have a special place in our hearts.
And it makes it even more meaningful that the church band will be playing at our wedding ceremony this coming fall. And we look forward to celebrating the rest of our lives with the First Church family.
Yeah, so that is, it's really true, and while we stumble, I suppose that's appropriate because we arrive here as we are, and we feel accepted, and we are looking forward to whatever's next here with this beloved community that is central to who we are. And that segues into what you may have been expecting, which is the fact that the Felix and the Hefter household will be pledging generously this year. And we do hope you'll do the same because it is that important. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Adam Zeiger, and I'm honored to chair the Pledge Committee this year. With me are parts of our Pledge team as well as visiting stewards, so I'll introduce them. The tall fellow here is Mark Richards, Kathy Rivera, Busy Schultz, Pat Hidson, who is responsible for the wonderful artwork of the Pledge project that you'll see later, as well as Mark Miller, along with Sherry Wright, Bob Balderson, Mark Chambers, Dave Umhofer, and Raleigh Hansen. We make up the Pledge Committee and visiting stewards. If you have any questions about the Pledge Drive, feel free to reach out. If If you get a call from any of us or an email or a text, I would encourage you to respond. We're eager to talk to you about how we all fan the flame at First Church and how First Church fans our own individual flame. We'll also be outside at coffee hours for the next month. We'll help you through the pledge project if you're interested in participating. We'll help you pledge if you're so moved. And if you do pledge, you can get one of these sweet I Pledge stickers. And now I'll hand it over to Mark Richards, and he can talk about maybe why you might be moved to pledge. Thank you.
I don't know why they put the two tallest guys in the church on the pledge committee. That's a little awkward sometimes. So somebody always told me, hey, be brief, be blunt, and be gone. And so that is my goal for what I'm about to share with you. This year we're trying to make the pledge drive a little bit more accessible. So previously you've received something in the mail and saying, hey, could you do this? Right? And if you couldn't, then it was kind of like, well, I can't do that, so I'm just going to keep it where it is. And if I could, I did. So this year what we're trying to do is make it more accessible. So just as we appreciate all of you, our framework is 2-4-6-8. And if you've ever been at a high school gymnasium, you may have heard the chant before, meaning if you could do 2% or 4% or 6% or 8%, enter into where you can contribute and increase your pledge. But we're asking that everyone increase their pledge this year, especially folks who haven't been able to do it for the past few years. And so if you can only do 2%, then do 2%. So if you're investing $100 a month into the church, 2% increase looks like $102. And our goal is to have our overall pledge increase keep up with inflation, so we can stay on track with our multi-year plan for pledge sustainability. So, which means we need members who can increase to 4%, 6%, or 8% to ensure we create sustainability and stay at or above the rate of inflation. And this is the strength of our community. Those who have more capacity create the power and balance for all of us. So last month, national inflation was at 2.9%. That means staying on track with sustainability plan is to keep up with the rising costs. So when everyone pitches in at the rate that they can, whether that's a $2 a month increase or a $20 a month increase, we get there together. So we need everyone to increase their investment in our community. And in my profession, I'm never allowed to use the word guarantee, but I would guarantee your return will far exceed your contribution. Thanks.
Okay, you remember what Adam said about your high school gymnasium days. I just want you to recall them for a moment here. And as Adam said, across the hall in the Lean House common room during coffee hour, you have our pledge project. It's a mosaic. Every single one of you makes up our community picture. So we hope you'll think about how First Church fans your individual flame, how you become a better person, and also how you fan the flame of this community and participate in that pledge project. So here we go. High school gymnasium. Are you ready? 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? You and 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 you. I say community. You say strengthens me. Community. Community. I say empowered. You say unafraid. Empowered. Empowered. I say you use. You say show up. You use. Show up. You use. Show up. I say values. You say beacon. Values. Beacon. Values. Beacon. I say pledge drive. You say goals met. Pledge drive. Goals met. Pledge drive. Goals met. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? You and 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 you. And thank you to our pledge team and visiting stewards for being so game. I want to invite everyone into a time of contemplation, which will be followed by silence, followed by the seated singing of Spirit of Life, hymn 123. Yeah, so just feel your body. Maybe it's feeling excited or joyful. Maybe it's feeling tired. Feel your heartbeat, or maybe your breath. Spirit of life and love, Holy One of our being and our becoming, that which is sacred within, among, and beyond us. Love, may we remember joy today. May we remember the power of community and celebration to overcome fear and isolation. Love, let us know our own power. Let us feel plugged into the pulse of community and love and possibilities larger than ourselves. Let this feeling vibrate within us. Let it empower us and give us strength and hope. Love, bring comfort to the suffering, courage to those who are afraid, and move through our hands, our hearts in the world. May it be so.
Good morning, First Church. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. My name is Deborah Klepp. My pronouns are she and her. And I'm pleased to serve as your worship associate this morning. We are a faith community of many identities. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all that you are carrying with you today and all that your heart longs to lay down. We welcome all the people watching online as we live stream this service. Welcome online, folks. We especially welcome the guests joining us today. While it isn't customary at our church to acknowledge guests by asking them to stand, today I am being culturally appropriate. So those of you who are visiting, please feel free to stand, but no pressure. You can wave your hand if you want so that we can greet you properly. After the service, please join us for social hour in the Lean House Common Room located across the hall for tea and coffee. If you're a visiting guest, we invite you to fill out a welcome card located in the pew rack in front of you and drop it in the offering baskets that will come around in a few minutes. A few accessibility notes. You can find hearing assist devices and large print hymnals and orders of service in the back of the sanctuary, as well as worship activity bags for children and anyone who wants them. There is a fragrance-free area in the front right pews. And if you're watching online, you can enable your YouTube's closed captioning on your viewing device. I welcome you to share in our first church worship and purpose by inviting you to join me in the unison affirmation of our mission, which is printed in your order of service. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action. Every week, we have an opportunity to practice our values through sharing our resources. Our pledges are at the core of our spiritual practice of generosity. In addition, First Church shares half of all the non-pledged cash in our offering plate with a community organization, practicing our value of interdependence. Today, we share the plate with Environmental Youth Collaborative. To contribute, put cash or checks made out to Environmental Youth Collaborative in the offering basket, and we will forward it for you. Or you can text 73256 with the message, "Give to UU." The offering will now be gratefully received as we sing seated, hymn number 311, "Let It Be a Dance." I invite all the children, youth, and RE volunteers to join in the singing of the first verse, then proceed to religious education, first in the Lean House Common Room, and then downstairs for religious education as the congregation continues to sing you on your way. Tomorrow, Jack and I will embark upon our 15th annual road trip. We are too excited. One of the reasons I love traveling with Jack is that Jack is a story magnet. People always want to tell them some part of their story. And as a result, off we go to some unknown offbeat adventure to learn more. Be forewarned, though, if you are talking with Jack and he ever says, "Listen to this," be assured he's about to tell you a story. We will spend time visiting new places that we hope will inspire us, and we will revisit places that have already encouraged us. We plan later this month to visit the Penn Center again, where I sat on the porch of the unfinished cabin that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was having built. It was here at the Penn Center where he contemplated the first draft of his "I Have a Dream" speech, and where he, along with others, envisioned the beloved and inclusive community. Reverend King was murdered 6 months before his cabin's planned completion. It remains in its original state. Dr. King chose the Penn Center as a meeting place, a retreat, a sanctuary of sorts, because he felt that it was the only setting at the time in the United States where people of all creeds and colors would feel welcome and included as they planned to move social justice and equity issues forward. Inclusiveness was and still is a very basic element of the beloved community. The principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion made the civil rights era gain momentum, and much of it began at the Penn School near Hilton Head Island in the low country of South Carolina. I imagined while gathered there, they sang the Black National Anthem with gusto. Lift every voice and sing till her earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise loud as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Lift Every Voice and Sing was adopted 106 years ago by the NAACP as the Negro National Anthem. It is a song of hope and perseverance for Black people and for us all. In 1976, in tandem with the bicentennial, President Gerald Ford designated February as Black History Month. He said, and I quote, "It is fitting to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history," end quote. Since then, every U.S. president has honored and designated February as Black History Month, until now. Last week, by executive order, the 47th president ordered all federal agencies to discontinue Black history celebrations and acknowledgments, starting yesterday. I read the actual executive order that dissolves diversity, equity, and inclusion practices and policies, otherwise known as DEI. The executive order calls DEI efforts, quote, unconstitutional and illegal, and says DEI initiatives undermine our national unity and traditional American value of hard work excellence, and achievement. End quote. On the contrary, DEI policies, in fact, were meant to level the playing field for people of color, women, LGBTQ+ communities, and people with disabilities. Our liberties are being threatened. The Statue of Liberty was conceived as an emblem of the United States and France's mutual desire for liberty, and it was also designed to celebrate the abolition of slavery following the Civil War. Broken chains, honoring and symbolizing the end of slavery, lay at the feet of Lady Liberty's statue in New York Bay. Instead of a nation that values inclusion, the executive orders that came out last week doubles down on exclusion of books, of immigrants, of history. Part of my own story, my own strength, my own history resides in the song, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." When I was a teen member of the NAACP in Detroit, I was introduced to Lift Every Voice, and it was sung at every celebratory gathering. It holds historical value for me, and its melody resonates deeply within my soul. I love the melody and the cadence of the song, but more, I love the lyrics. The lyrics give me hope and inspiration. They ask me to persevere. This song speaks of liberty. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Together, First Church, our voices can restore the harmonies of liberty through sharing our stories and our histories, not banning them. Back to the Penn School. It is now the Penn Center and is a national monument. It was established and founded by one of my heroines, Laura Town, a Unitarian Universalist from Philadelphia. Laura Town was a member of the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia, and with encouragement from her pastor and with the clarion call from President Abraham Lincoln, Laura Town established the Penn School on St. Helena Island on April 9th, 1862. To help Lincoln determine whether or not enslaved people could be taught to read and write and do math and live on their own if he emancipated them. The Penn School has a long history of educating Black children, men and women, and Laura Town's tombstone reads, she devoted 38 years of her life to the colored people of St. Helena Island and employed her means in their education and care. This is a book of her diaries, and if anybody wants to borrow it, I'll have it after the service. In fact, we met and heard the stories of elders and their progeny who had been educated there at the Penn School. And starting tomorrow, we are going back for more stories and more history. Inclusion is a powerful path to actualizing the beloved community. Our stories allow us to be included and help us belong to one another. When we are willing to listen and share, we are better able to walk together, to squash the discord that threatens to dismantle the hope and democracy of our liberty. Our stories tell us not to be afraid, not to be overwhelmed, not to be discouraged, that we can do this. So let us sing a song of resilience, of hope, of perseverance. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Lift Every Voice says to me that we must be the answer to our ancestors' prayers. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Let it be so.
Dear ones, we want you to know that in this space, in this community, you are valued in all your beautiful array of identities and intersectionalities. You are affirmed and you belong. This song is our love letter to you. When I think of you, I see life in color. When you think of me, I hope that you wonder what this life can bring us. If we remember that everything that we need is everything we got. Follow the home that's in your heart, that's where we are. And isn't it so amazing, out of all the places that we're face to face and right where we belong. When the day is through, there's always tomorrow. I'll save a seat for you, and every day that follows is everything that we need, is everything we got. Follow the home that's in your heart, that's where we are. And isn't it so amazing, out of all the places that we're face to face and right where we belong. If we remember, we're all just made of stardust in the air. My friend, 'cause everything that we need is everything we got. Follow the home that's in your heart, that's where we are. And isn't it so amazing, out of all the places that we're face to face and right where we belong. When we remember, we're right where we belong.
In her book, The Serviceberry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World, Indigenous author Robin Wall Kimmerer retells a story shared by linguistic anthropologist Daniel Everett, of learning from a hunter-gatherer community in Brazil. While he was there, a hunter brought home a large kill, and Everett asked him what the process was to smoke and dry that meat for storage. And while the hunter knew about those processes, he was confused by Everett's question, and he responded by asking Everett in return, "Why would I store the meat?" Instead, the hunter sent out invitations to his community to gather and feast. His neighbors and their families gathered at his home to celebrate and eat with one another. Nothing went to waste, and nothing was stored. This was different than what the anthropologist would have predicted based on his home country's economic practices, and he labeled that difference maladaptive. In the capitalist framework of his home culture, behavior other than solely individual self-interest behavior is simply not rational. Now Everett was confused, so he asked the hunter again why he would choose not to store the meat for his future. And the hunter replied, "Store my meat? I store my meat in my brother's belly." The logic of unregulated capitalism depends on and demands that individuals act in solely self-interested ways, operating on extraction to create excess profits for owners. This so-called excess is extracted from labor, it's extracted from the earth, from trade, from consumers, from communities, and it is stored in the wallets and stocks and banks of owners. The system has normalized the extraction of profit and the accumulation of profit as simply rational, despite its exclusion of millions of people, as well as things like housework and child rearing and caretaking, not to mention its exclusion of factors like clean water and air and a livable planet. The thing is, though, there are other systems of economy with other goals. There are other values that might guide how we as humans relate to one another and to the earth and to labor and to our own worth. Goals and values and priorities other than profit alone require regulation or entirely different systems. Here in the United States, we've mixed democracy with capitalism, which has meant for us adding some regulations through democratic decisions to include goals other than profit in the rules about how our society runs. What we're witnessing right now is a massive swing towards removing those shared democratic goals that we decided on together and moving towards more and more exclusion. We're witnessing the dismantling of democratic efforts at inclusion, from DEI efforts to Black History Month to economic inclusion via the social safety net. People working in social services this week have had a wretched week of wondering if their jobs will continue, and worse, wondering if millions of people are going to lose access to resources that they depend on for food and housing and healthcare. This last couple of weeks has been an attempt to dismantle the mediating force of democracy. The work over the last 100 years, 200 years of Black people, of women, of queer folks, of indigenous folks, of people of color, of people with disabilities, to put values other than the accumulation of profit into place, to make our system have other goals than simply the accumulation of profit. Our work, the work of the people, has been to regulate the distribution of power and resources according to those other values. Other values, values like love and justice, values like inclusion and liberation, our values, our Unitarian Universalist values that say human worth and dignity matters. Fair access to education and housing and hope matters. Our values of love and justice being at the center of what we do, those are the things that have been dismantled or attempted at being dismantled, because the story isn't over yet, friends. The values of inclusion and liberation are just fundamentally different than values of domination and power and hierarchy, than self-interest and the accumulation of excess profit. We, as a people who are Unitarian Universalists and part of a democracy and have been laboring for years and decades and generations, we know that we are interdependent. We know that the truth of reality of the world is that we are bound up with one another, that we are entangled, as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, in an inextricable network of mutuality. We know that that is just the way the world works. We cannot be separated from one another, and any attempt at separation is, in fact, illogical, irrational, and only benefits a very few people. We know that we must store our food in the bellies of our siblings because we know that all thriving is mutual, that we rise and fall together because it's the nature of reality. In the Serviceberry, Robin Wall Kimmerer writes that all thriving is mutual. She writes about other ways of understanding how to organize ourselves as human community. She looks to nature first. For examples, she looks to our relatives, the plants, and she holds up the gift economy of the earth, the natural way of being. In the story, she gathers buckets full of wild serviceberries, unearned, freely given to her, to the birds, to the bears. She bears witness to the generosity of the earth, to the gift economy that offers grace to all living beings. She bears witness to the plenitude and the abundance of freely given gifts like the air that we breathe, and the water that we drink, and food that grows on trees. The rain never falls from the sky and says, "You owe me." The sun never shines on our skin and says, "That'll be $5, please." Wall Kimmerer points to cultures of sharing. Particularly in indigenous communities, I store my food in the belly of my sibling. She tells the story of Western Pacific indigenous communities' practices of potlatches. Potlatches, which were high ceremonial celebrations where wealthy community members would host a celebration, a potlatch, to give away free gifts and wealth to the community members. In these communities, in this practice, power was displayed not by how much one could accumulate, but by how much one could give away. The practice kept the resources circulating in the community as an intentional ceremony, but also celebration and joy in sharing. Now, interestingly, in the late 1800s, the Canadian government outlawed potlatches because they were, quote, unproductive and contrary to the civilized values of accumulation. Outlawed. Maybe self-interested accumulation isn't natural. If you have to outlaw it, maybe accumulation is a cultural value that has to be enforced. Gift economies, sharing economies, economies of mutual aid and voluntary offering, economies of care, are all visible counterpoints to capitalism. And they exist today. Giving out of love, sharing as an expression of the value of human community are alternative value structures. They are resistance. These alternative economies are everywhere if you just look for them. In our society, they will tell you that they're illogical or irrational or just won't work, and yet they are working right now, today. These material expressions of the value of care and community rather than accumulation and power exist among us. They are within the borders of this capitalist system, sometimes as an intentional practice of resistance to the current system, like mutual aid and buy nothing networks, and sometimes as necessary caring work that has to be done but also supports the current system, like women's labor in the home. What we do here at church is a gift economy. Everything we do here in this community is shared and voluntary. It is freely given. The resources that keep the lights on and buy the coffee and pay for the printing and for the staff support that keep it running, but also the labor of the ushers and the greeters and the house band, of the finance team and the pledge team and the board, all of that's voluntary offerings, freely given by all of you to create this community that you freely offer to anyone who wants it. This $1 million a year budget that we are all participating is a gift economy. And it's functioning right now. We have a photocopy machine. We have well-tuned musical instruments. We have a band and a sound system and lighting. And all of it was created by you participating in an alternative economy, freely and voluntarily, and then offering that gift economy to anyone who wants to come in and receive it. But even more than that, you also are taking it out into the world. The vision, the beacon of Unitarian Universalist values that says we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, and we are putting it into practice in the way that we live, you are also taking out into the world, in your justice work, in the beacon of Unitarian Universalist values. This place, it is, yes, a shelter, a values shelter from the pain of greed and cruelty. But we also have the audacity to put our love-centered values out into the storm of the world and proclaim liberating love for all people. That is what we are practicing. The spiritual practice of generosity, of giving, is a practice of our belief that all thriving is mutual, and that we are fundamentally, inextricably interdependent with one another. This is a different way to live. This is a different way to be. This is a different functioning economy than principles of exclusion and power and domination. We're out here saying freedom and kinship are the values that we practice rather than ownership, and we are proclaiming those values through our practice, through what we actually do. That's how we're proclaiming our faith, that we belong to one another. The logic of extraction, of the self-interested individual, is nonsense. It is harmful nonsense, but it is nonsense nonetheless, and it is not the only way to do things. Capitalism's, 500-ish years old? Human community is 200,000 years old. We have done this in different ways all over the world and right now for a very long time. And the good news, dear ones, is that we already know how to do this. We are doing it right now. We have made community based on voluntary sharing and the principle that all thriving is mutual right here because we exist. And we can keep making more community this way. We exist here now, today. The beloveds within and among us, all of us, we exist today. Trans people exist. Saying that they don't is nonsense. Black people exist. Trying to erase Black History Month is nonsense. Trying to tell us not to tell our stories or our history is nonsense. Queer people exist, women exist, people with disabilities exist, and we are all entangled with one another. There is no separating us out. Even if you say we're not going to tell your story on this national website, the existence is undeniable. We are here. We are now living with one another. None of us are fictions. None of us will be erased. And we already know how to live together in community with one another, each and every one of us, beloved. We already know how to lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Dear ones, the best place to store our food is in the bellies of our siblings and kin. And we know that our siblings and kin are the whole of humanity. We practice sharing, we practice interdependence in community because food security actually happens either way. Whether you dry and store your meat in a locker or whether you store it in the belly of your siblings and kin, food security happens. But depending on which choice you make, relationships are very different. Community is very different. Life is very different. If you spend your afternoon smoking and drying the meat, or if you spend your afternoon with your beloveds in feast. Those are different ways to live. And so we make choices to practice our values and invest in our community and invest in our dreams of the beloved community of the future. So yes, it's a pledge drive. We're raising money. That's true. That's what's real. But we're also practicing our values. It's a spiritual practice of saying, I actually believe in our interdependence, and I will offer what I can to my community so that we can thrive mutually, together. We're not engaging here in a fee-for-service structure. We're practicing voluntary economy with love at the center. This is a spiritual practice, both for the soul, but also for an economy where community and love are centered as a point of resistance to greed and accumulation, exclusion, and power. In these painful days of deliberately sown chaos and powerful cruelty, we have to keep dreaming. We have to keep our eyes on the prize, on that beloved community that Dr. King told us was possible. There is a practice called freedom dreaming. It was developed by Professor Robin Kelly, and that practice, freedom dreaming, it calls us to envision that beloved community, to envision the thing that we fight together for, rather than spending our energy and time picturing or lamenting or freaking out about what we're fighting against. Freedom dreaming calls us to keep dreaming and keep articulating the dream and investing in the dream of the world we want to live in. When I do freedom dreaming, I dream of a world where all of our practices of economy are voluntary, where our offerings to the world are voluntary, where we're not required or owned by any corporation, but only we belong to each other. My practice of freedom dreaming has mutual thriving where everyone is fed. Everyone is housed, everyone is clothed, and everyone has access to hope and joy and celebration. Everyone knows that they are beloved and included and part of the community. No one is excluded for any reason, race or sexuality or gender or age, ethnicity, immigration status. Everyone is part of this community because all humans have inherent worth and dignity. In my freedom dreaming, we have what we need and we spend our time creating joy and happiness and strength and art and song and beauty. Dear ones, there is enough. There is enough in this world. We have what we need. The only problem is when the resources are distributed in skewed ways. We have what we need and we know how to do it. Let us practice our values, both here in this shelter from greed and cruelty, but also out there in the streets, being a beacon of keeping love at the center of how we live, generosity as how we work with one another, and hope for the future as the dream that we keep striving for. The seeds of that dream are alive right here, right now, today. The seeds are in the earth. Beneath this cold snow, the seeds of the future are living in communities like ours right now, communities of resistance and gift giving and sharing. And together those seeds, with our careful attention and strength and love, they will grow. Spring will come. We do not need to be afraid. We just keep watering this dream. We're dreaming together, and together we make it real. May it be so.
like it's life or death. You and I, we're never giving in, never giving in, never giving in. And you and I, we're never gonna rest. Keep up the dream like it's life or death. And you and I, we're never giving in, never giving in. We'll never give in, never give in. We'll grow up and we'll never be alone. And no matter where we roam, we'll be glorious. We'll grow up and we'll never be alone. And no matter where we roam, we'll be glorious. We'll be glorious, you know it's true. Hey!
Dear ones, may we continue to practice inclusion for our mutual thriving. May we keep dreaming freedom and lifting every voice to sing. Will you please rise for the Black National Anthem, number 149, Lift Every Voice and Sing.